I'm Sarah Thompson, 65 years old. I've been living in Brooklyn, New York City for over 40 years. My 35-year-old son Jason and his wife Amanda blessed me with a 5-year-old grandson, Ethan. Seeing Ethan's smile has become my greatest joy lately. My life changed dramatically after I lost my husband Tom to illness 3 years ago. After losing the man I'd been with for 50 years, I spent some time in grief. But I knew Tom wouldn't want me to be down forever. With that thought, I slowly began to face forward and move on. That's when I discovered volunteer work at the local soup kitchen. Although I was hesitant at first, now I go without fail 3 days a week. It feels as if this was my true calling all along. Sarah, your soup is the best today. Mike, a regular, calls out to me with a smile. His words warm my heart. Thank you, Mike. It's a special recipe today, I reply with a smile. These small interactions enrich my days. Working at the soup kitchen isn't just about providing meals. Many of the people who come here are looking for someone to talk to. I listen to their stories and sometimes offer words of encouragement. At my age, being able to use my life experience to help others has become an invaluable joy for me. Sarah, your soup has magic in it, says Ellen, another regular. Oh, it's not magic. It's just love, I answer as I continue ladling out soup. Through this work, I've learned a lot. Life has its ups and downs, but everyone has the right to be happy. And a small kindness can make a big difference in someone's life. My experience at the soup kitchen has also had a positive impact on my relationship with my family. I've been able to teach my son Jason and grandson Ethan the importance of compassion. Sometimes they even join me in volunteering. Today, too, I feel happy as I see the smiles of so many people. I want to continue this work. Yes, I'm sure Tom is smiling down on me from heaven. On a bitterly cold winter day, I was working at the soup kitchen as usual. Wearing a thick apron, I was ladling out fragrant vegetable soup from a large pot. As I handed a paper cup of warm soup to an elderly man at the front of the line, I looked up and was met with an unexpected sight. Could it be Ethan? My grandson, Ethan, was standing in line. His small body shivered in the cold as he stood with his head down. For a moment, I thought it might be an optical illusion, but there was no mistake. That adorable blonde hair and those blue eyes. My precious grandson. Ethan. I couldn't help but call out. Ethan slowly raised his face, and when our eyes met, tears welled up in those big eyes of his. Grandma. I quickly told my fellow volunteers that I needed to step away for a moment. Then I rushed over to Ethan and hugged him tightly. What happened? Why are you here? Ethan buried his face in my chest and, between sobs, began to speak. Dad and Mom, they kicked me out. Hearing those words, my heart nearly stopped. Jason and Amanda kicking out such a young child. I couldn't believe it. Can you tell me slowly? Tell Grandma everything. We sat down at a small table in the corner of the soup kitchen. I placed a warm soup and soft bread in front of Ethan, encouraging him to talk bit by bit. Dad and Mom have been so busy lately. They hardly talk to me, Ethan continues, gripping the spoon with trembling hands. Last night, when I asked for help with my homework, Dad got angry. His voice trembles. I gently rubbed his back, encouraging him to continue. Dad yelled, "You're nothing but a nuisance." Then Mom said, "That's right, you're not family anymore." My chest aches. How could Jason and Amanda say such terrible things? Then they kicked me out. I was cold and scared, but I remembered you often talked about the soup kitchen, so I came here. Touched by Ethan's courage, I hugged him tightly once more. I'm glad you came, Ethan. Grandma will take good care of you. However, inside, I was seething with anger. Why did Jason and Amanda do this? I need to contact them immediately. Ethan, let's go to Grandma's house. You can take a warm bath and rest. Ethan nodded slightly. I explained the situation to my fellow volunteers again and prepared to take Ethan home. In the car on the way home, Ethan fell asleep from exhaustion. Looking at his small sleeping face, I steeled my resolve. I will do whatever it takes to protect and make this child happy. Yes, even if it means confronting my own son. After bathing Ethan in warm water at my house and changing him into clean clothes, he fell into a deep sleep. As I watched my grandson sleeping peacefully, a mix of anger and anxiety swirled inside me. Taking a deep breath, I picked up my cell phone. First, I dialed Jason's number. The phone rang and rang, but there was no answer. Next, I tried Amanda's number, but again, no response. What on earth are they doing? I muttered to myself. As a last resort, I decided to try calling their home phone. After several rings, someone finally picked up. Hello, Jason. I quickly began speaking. I'm very worried about Ethan. Oh, Mom, Jason's voice came through. In the background, I could hear lively conversation and the clinking of dishes. I'm kind of busy right now. I'll call you back later. Wait. I cried desperately. Where's Ethan? He says you kicked him out. After a moment of silence, Jason answered in a casual tone. Oh, him. It's just a bit of discipline. He'll be back soon enough. Discipline? I raised my voice in disbelief. You call kicking out a 5-year-old child on a freezing winter night discipline? Mom, you're exaggerating, Jason laughed. Look, we're enjoying a fancy French dinner with just family now. Don't bother us. The moment I heard those words, something snapped inside me. Just family. My voice was shaking. Are you saying Ethan isn't family? Well, that's about right. Jason's voice showed not a hint of guilt. He was kind of a disappointment. I was at a loss for words. I felt as if the world had gone dark around me. Jason, listen to me, I tried desperately to maintain my composure. Ethan is at my house now. He was shaking from cold and fear. What on earth are you thinking? Oh, is that so? Jason's voice sounded as if he was talking about someone else's problem. Well, then we'll leave him with you for a while. We're kind of busy, you know. Jason, I shouted, but the phone had already been hung up. I stood there, dumbfounded. My son's cold attitude, his indifference towards his own child. Is this really the child I raised? Tears streamed down my cheeks. But I quickly pulled myself together. This is no time for tears. I need to protect Ethan. I picked up my cell phone and called my friend Mary, who is a lawyer. Mary, it's an emergency, I briefly explained the situation. Sarah, this is serious, Mary's voice was filled with concern. First, we need to ensure Ethan's safety. Then, we need to review Jason and Amanda's parental rights. Thank you, Mary, I took a deep breath. What should I do? First, let's report to the police that Ethan is with you now, Mary calmly instructed. Then, we need to contact Child Protective Services. I nodded, jotting down Mary's instructions one by one. This will be a tough battle. But for Ethan's sake, I'll overcome any difficulty. After hanging up, I peeked into the room where Ethan was sleeping. Seeing his peaceful sleeping face strengthened my resolve. It's okay, Ethan, I whispered softly. Grandma will protect you. And with that, I began preparing for my next move. I will do everything in my power to uncover the truth behind Jason and Amanda's actions and protect Ethan. Acting on Mary's advice, I immediately sprang into action. First, I went to the local police station, explained Ethan's situation, and reported that I was temporarily taking care of him. The police officer understood the gravity of the situation and helped me fill out the necessary paperwork. Next, I contacted Child Protective Services. A social worker named Linda was assigned to our case, and we scheduled a home visit for the following day. After completing these official procedures, I decided to start my own investigation. Jason's mention of a fancy French restaurant had been bothering me. Fancy French restaurant? I muttered as I opened my computer. I began searching for high-end restaurants in the area, but none of them were in a price range that Jason and Amanda could normally afford. Strange. I frowned. I had noticed that my son and daughter-in-law's lifestyle had suddenly improved recently, but could it be? I decided to call Jason's company. When the receptionist answered, I tried to get connected to Jason's department, but I received an unexpected response. I'm sorry, but Jason Thompson resigned over a year ago. I was shocked by this information. Jason had been saying he was going to work every day. What on earth is going on? As I continued my investigation, I stumbled upon a social media post. On Amanda's Facebook page, there was a photo of a restaurant called Le Petit Chateau. The caption read, "Our new business is doing great. This could be it," I instinctively thought. The next day, after receiving Linda's home visit, I set out to locate Le Petit Chateau. However, when I arrived at the address listed, there was no restaurant-like building in sight. This is odd. I looked around. Then, I decided to ask a nearby mail carrier. Excuse me, is there a restaurant called Le Petit Chateau around here? The mail carrier tilted his head. I've never heard of a restaurant by that name. But fancy-looking meal deliveries often come to this address. This information started to connect some dots in my mind. After returning home, I continued my investigation. I searched for reviews of Le Petit Chateau online, but they were all suspiciously similar glowing reviews. And the lack of any reservation method listed was also unnatural. This is... I gasped. It might be a fake restaurant. The next day, I contacted Mary again and shared my findings. Sarah, this is serious. Mary's voice was grave. There's a high possibility of fraud. Let's gather evidence. With Mary's help, we began investigating the true nature of Le Petit Chateau. Social media advertisements, fake reviews, demands for high reservation fees, everything pointed to an elaborately planned scam. And then we found the decisive evidence. Multiple bank accounts opened under Jason and Amanda's names. Large sums of money, collected as reservation fees for Le Petit Chateau, were flowing into these accounts. Why? I fought back tears as I looked at the evidence. Why would they do this? Mary gently placed her hand on my shoulder. Sarah, I know this is hard. But we need to think about Ethan now. I took a deep breath and calmed myself. That's right. Protecting Ethan is the top priority now. Mary, what should we do? I asked with renewed determination. First, let's submit this evidence to the police, Mary answered calmly. Then, we'll start the process to obtain custody of Ethan. I nodded. I can't forgive what my son and daughter-in-law have done. But more than that, I'm worried about Ethan's future. Ethan needs to be given real love. I murmured. That night, as I sat beside the sleeping Ethan, I made a vow. No matter how difficult it might be, I will protect this child and make him happy. And Jason and Amanda need to understand the gravity of their actions. This will be a long battle. But now that the truth has come to light, there's no turning back. For Ethan's sake, and for the sake of justice, I have no choice but to move forward. The day after Jason and Amanda's fraudulent activities came to light, I visited Mary's law office. Despite the heavy heart I carried, I told myself I needed to be strong for Ethan's sake. Sarah, I'm glad you came, Mary welcomed me warmly. Her calm demeanor gave me a sense of reassurance. Mary, thank you so much, I sighed deeply. What should we do now? Mary began explaining as she spread documents on her desk. First, we need to report to the police. We must submit the evidence we've gathered about Jason and Amanda's fraud. I nodded silently. Reporting my own son to the police is an agonizing choice for a parent. But for Ethan's sake, it's an unavoidable path. And at the same time, we'll start the process to gain custody of Ethan, Mary continued. If Jason and Amanda are arrested, there's a high chance that Ethan's guardianship will be transferred to you. Is it really possible? I asked, feeling a mix of anxiety and hope. It won't be easy, Mary answered honestly. But considering that you're Ethan's grandmother and have been taking care of him, and the fact that Jason and Amanda are involved in criminal activities, we have a good chance." I took a deep breath and steeled my resolve. "I understand, Mary. I'll do whatever it takes." After that, we began preparing to report to the police. Mary meticulously compiled the evidence, and I practiced explaining the situation numerous times. "Sarah, remember," Mary looked me straight in the eye and said, "this is the right thing to do. It's necessary to protect Ethan." I nodded, holding back tears. "Yes, this is for Ethan." The next day, we visited the local police station. My hands were shaking from nervousness, but remembering Ethan's smile helped me regain some composure. The detective in charge listened to our story seriously. When we showed him the evidence, his expression became stern. "This is indeed a serious case," the detective said. "We'll start an investigation and take necessary measures." As we left the police station, a mix of complex emotions swirled inside me. A sense of guilt for betraying my son, and a sense of relief that I could protect Ethan. Over the next few weeks, I was busy preparing to gain custody of Ethan. There was a mountain of tasks to do: preparing application documents for family court, requesting character witnesses, setting up the home environment, and more. Particularly challenging was caring for Ethan's emotional well-being. How should I explain to a 5-year-old why his parents are gone? I agonized over this many times, carefully choosing my words. "Ethan, Grandma is going to take care of you from now on," I gently told him one day. "But what about Mom and Dad?" Ethan asked anxiously. "Mom and Dad, they've gone away for a while," I answered, hugging him. "But Grandma will always be here for you." Ethan nodded slightly and clung to me. For this child's future, I'm prepared to face any difficulty. It will be a long battle. But for the sake of Ethan's smile, I will never give up. We'll move forward, one step at a time, steadily. As the police investigation progressed, the day finally came. Early one morning, a knock sounded at my door. "Mrs. Thompson, Jason Thompson and Amanda Thompson have been arrested," the detective quietly informed me. Feeling a mix of relief and sadness, I hugged Ethan tightly. "It's okay now." A few weeks later, a hearing was held in family court. Jason and Amanda were found guilty of fraud, and custody of Ethan was to be transferred to me. The judge's words echoed, "Sarah Thompson, you are granted sole custody of Ethan." Tears welled up in my eyes. Holding Ethan's small hand tightly, I smiled. "Grandma, are we going to be together forever now?" Ethan asked anxiously. "Yes, Ethan. Grandma will take good care of you." A new life began. Every morning, I see Ethan off to school, and in the evening, we do homework together. On weekends, we volunteer at the soup kitchen, and Ethan has started helping out too. A few months later, a letter arrived from Jason in prison. "Mom, I'm truly sorry. Please take care of Ethan." While there was sadness, the courage to forgive was also beginning to sprout. 5 years later, Ethan has grown into a bright and healthy 10-year-old boy. On weekends, we visit Jason in prison, slowly rebuilding our relationship. After serving her sentence, Amanda participated in a rehabilitation program and now works as a real chef. As for me, I've used this experience to establish a support group for abused children. Life may bring unexpected trials, but with love and courage, we can overcome them. Believing this, we cherish each day as it comes.